One of the other big stories out there that never seems to go away is this loyalty problem inside the White House. Leaks, more leaks. We're going to be talking to a crisis communications expert coming up next on what the Trump White House has to do. Do they have a loyalty problem? I don't think anybody's angrier than President Trump. The big question is, does he have a loyalty problem inside the White House? I want to bring on crisis communications expert Chrysta Castañeda. Chrysta, good morning.
Good morning.
So when you take a look at what's going on with the leaks coming out of the White House, it seems like a daily occurrence, if not weekly. Does it signify a loyalty problem for the president within his own administration?
It's really hard to tell, okay? It certainly looks like it from the outside. It certainly looks like a lack of control problem. And the fact that these leaks are so damaging to the message he wants to put out would indicate that there is a loyalty problem. But from a crisis communications perspective, there can be a part of your communication strategy that is to intentionally put out leaks for one reason or another strategically so that you get your message out. This doesn't appear to me to be that. So if it's not that, then I'm guessing that it has to be somebody has loose lips for an agenda that doesn't serve the president.
Well, if you take a look over the weekend, the latest leak was the New York Times report that Trump told Russian officials he fired former FBI Director James Comey because he was a nut job. That had to originate, wouldn't it, from somebody who was present for the meeting, who is a member of Trump's inner circle?
Well, are the only people there Trump's inner circle, or are there White House staff? Are there, who knows? I mean, it could be Trump's inner circle. It could be, bystanders who just happen to hear the comments. This, again, Bloom Daddy, brings us back to the issue I've talked about on your show before, which is there needs to be an idea that we're going to communicate clearly and succinctly what is the message we want out there. And Mr. Trump needs to be saying it just the same as all of the people who are supporting him. And this going sideways on the message, even when he thinks he's not on the record, he's always on the record. He's got a problem in that he said these things in the first place.
So do you think he cares? I mean, I know he cares about leaks, but calling Comey a nut job, I'm sure there are other presidents in time who used off-the-cuff language, who talked like somebody in a bar, like I would, or anybody else, to describe certain situations that never got out. Why is it, I mean, every administration has dealt with leaks, but why is it that Trump seems to be dealing with the Niagara Falls of leaks, if you will?
Well, in part because he's got less message control than any president that I'm aware of. He doesn't have a clear idea of what he wants to communicate and when. He's not looping in everybody in his organization to understand what that communication strategy should be. People aren't privy to his thinking, and he tells people things that are different than what he's telling his staff. That's the chaos from which you can get this massive leak situation that he's getting.
Talking to Chrysta Castañeda right now. She specializes in crisis communications. Chrysta, is this something that he can fix, or, if you will, has the boat hit an iceberg?
Well, I can't comment on, whether the damage is long-term, but let's just look at the situation. Can he do better going forward? He could. Is he likely to? He's not, because he prides himself on being off the cuff, spur of the moment. That's kind of his calling card, and that's kind of the opposite of what you want in a coordinated communication strategy. And again, let's go back to why do you want that? Because you want to be able to be an effective president in moving forward the agenda you got hired to put forward. Communications can support that, or they can take away from it, and this is taken away from it. I
want to get your opinion on something. One of my political analysts said, he said, just looking at all the leaks and everything that's being said, he said, think for a moment if, he said he heard a report where some people closest to Trump feel that he just will not listen to anybody. And that was, that's part of his personality. He's going to do what he wants to do, and he's the smartest guy in the room. But they feel that they're not listened to when it comes to advice. So the only way to get his attention, the only way to get him to maybe listen or look at something differently is to leak stuff to the media, because he pays attention to the media, and therefore, in a roundabout way, they get him to address or at least get on his radar things that he just will not listen to them about. Do you think there's any credence to that whatsoever?
Well, in communications theory and examples, it happens all the time. It happens in other organizations. So, yes, there would be some credence in the fact that that can and does go on in places all over the world. It's sad to think that we have a White House where people feel they have to do that to try to right the ship, and it's not conducive to, you know, what we all want our president and our White House to be able to achieve.
So just so I understand, it's your belief that Trump doesn't really care that this stuff is coming out because it's his personality, it's the way he is. He likes to be looked at as a gunslinger, and it's just the way it's going to be. Is that correct?
I don't. That's not exactly what I think. Okay. I think he does care, but I think that it's a cost that he is aware of because he's got this attitude if he wants to say what he wants to say when he wants to say it, and he doesn't necessarily want to include people in his decision-making. He wants to keep everybody at arm's length a bit, so he's in control. He doesn't like the consequence of that, which is all these leaks, but I've got to assume that after 70 years of being who he is, he knows that this is a problem, that it comes with the way he wants to conduct his business.
So you don't think it's going to get any better? It's just part of the way things are going to go from here on out?
If I had to predict, I don't think it would get much better. Unless they find who this person is, and it's just one person, and a personnel change is going to make that difference. But, unless the White House changes this approach, I think that this is going to be kind of the way this continues.
There's so many leaks. Do you, if you were a betting person, would you bet that it's just one person, or do you think it's multiple people who are just throwing this stuff out there?
I think there's more than one source. And remember, the press wants the leaks, right? These aren't necessarily just people voluntarily giving up this information. There's a lack of discipline that allows the press to come in and get information from a variety of different sources. Sometimes you hear it as an unnamed source or someone close to the president or someone who was in the meeting. You hear it described differently, which indicates that it's different people in different situations, but the overall lack of organization and cohesive discipline is what allows this to happen.
All right, Chris, always appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, that's Chrysta Castañeda, crisis communications expert.